Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogboat333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4 with the 1000-Week Reich mod. Now, last time we were here together, we hopped into the small nation of Serbia, the government of national salvation, rather, and aligning ourselves with the communist partisans, managed to liberate all of the Balkans from fascist tyranny, established ourselves a nice little communist state. Now, we did reach a light goal on that series to get to a second swing at Serbia, but I wanted to give things a little bit of a break before I immediately jump into it. I don't want this to just become the Serbian channel, because then my comment section would especially be a bit of a flustercluck. So we're not going to be doing that today. Right now, we're going to hop into more of the Middle Eastern content that we did not get a chance to check out, actually. Namely, we're going to go forward and scroll all the way down. We are going to be hopping into the nation of Lebanon, the Lebanese Republic. Maronite and Orthodox Christians, Sunni and Shia Muslims, Druze and Jews. Lebanon is not a homogeneous country at all. Having found itself under the protection of the new French state following the European War, Lebanon was formally separated from Syria in 1946 and declared a protectorate of Paris, with the Maronite Christian party Kataib being placed in charge as an ally of the French government. Over the nation's young history, many conflicts have arisen amidst this diverse array of ethnicities and religions. The nation's French benefactors have consistently prioritized development of Christian communities over their neglected Muslim counterparts, further driving resentments against both Paris and Kataib. With talks of a power-sharing agreement named the National Pact failing to produce any concrete results. Now, Lebanon enters a new era, with the Kataib government's support from the French waning amidst tensions back home, and the rapidly supporting popularity of new threats such as the SSNP, the Pan-Arab movement. Lebanon must decide what its identity is if it wishes to keep its future. We're going to hop in as a Lebanese Republic, and before we hop in, we are going to set some game rules real quick. I'm not going to mess with anything on the German end. We'll just see what happens there. But Middle East, we need to make sure that Israel wins. What they end up doing from there, I don't know if it matters too much. But we also have to make sure that Syria goes down the Arab Caesar path. Now, you might be able to put two and two together if you didn't look at the thumbnail. And if you didn't pay attention to what else is going on. But if you haven't figured it out yet, I'll leave you a little bit in suspense, I suppose. So we're going to be hopping in as the Lebanese Republic right now. Bada boom, bada bing. Here we go once again into the world of 1000-Week Reich. I forget whether I said I was going to do the government of national salvation or the collaborators or the Chetniks for the Serbia campaign I now have to do. I think I said the collaborators. That sounds more up to what I was planning to do. I was a little surprised how well you guys hit the last like goal. I almost want to do another like goal, but I don't quite know what to do for that like goal. I would offer up Palestine, but I feel like if I do that, that might make things a little weird for a like goal. I was planning on playing them anyway, so I'm not gonna do that. How about you guys let me know what you guys want me to do in the comment section below, and I will adjust as needed. I'm ready to play. Alright, let's take a look at our starting conditions. I'm going to set my timer right now Here we go. First, we have Alfred Nakach. Born in the 1870s to a Maronite Christian family, Alfred Nakach's rise to power and his current administration, when viewed from the outside, doesn't seem to make sense. On the surface, Nakach represents the more moderate wing of Kateb, opposing some members of his party's more radical stance and supporting a secular democracy with equal rights for all. At the same time, Lebanon's current democracy actively oppresses the Muslim populace, who live as second-class citizens in favor of the Maronite Christian elite. The key to understanding this odd situation can be found in France's hold over Lebanese affairs. When nationalism in Syria and Lebanon began to spiral out of control following the independence of Iraq and Transjordan, Marshal Petain formally gave Lebanon's independence, placing the more loyal Maronites in charge in order to secure his allies in the region. However, the more radical wing of the Kateb party, led by Pierre Gemayel, while aligning more with Petain's policies, was much more opposed to any French rule in Lebanon, complicating the issue. Petain eventually appointed the much more moderate Nakach as president of Lebanon, but forced his hand at signing many anti-Muslim laws into place against his will. Now Nakach is seen as a dictator he fought so hard not to be, France showing signs of political instability. It is not clear how much longer his regime can hold on. Man, that's rough. We are hybrid paternalists. We have a Phalange Lebanese. The Lebanese phalanges, or the Kateb party. I would like to apologize at a time, or I guess in time as well, let's be real, for any butchering of pronunciations I do, for any of the regional pronunciations. I barely speak English, I don't speak Arabic, so it was going to be an uphill battle for me no matter what. I apologize. I'm going to try my best. Let me know what I'm pronouncing wrong, just so I can get it right in the future, because I'm pre-recording these now, so I'm not going to be able to adjust as needed. Anyway, hybrid paternalism describes the fluidity of authoritarian governance. When the government is ruled by a strong man or an exclusive group, elements of democratic governance are also practiced. This hybrid nature can manifest in the form of some limited public political consultations, a half-hearted approval of a civil society, or even claimed adherence to constitutional rule. Meanwhile, meaningful power remains in the hands of the entrenched political elites. Well, there we go. And we have the legacy of a national pact. Maronites and Orthodox Christians, Sunni and Shia Muslims, Druze and Christians. Did I already read this? No, I think they're just using a similar. Lebanon is not a homogeneous country at all. Over the nation's young history, many conflicts have arisen amidst this diverse array of ethnicities and religions, with many rightfully asking how such a nation can be held together. The answer to these questions depends very depending on who you ask. To these agreements during the 1940s, elite representatives of Lebanon's sectarian and religious communities men discussed a system of compromise on the nature of a state and a formalized system of power sharing between religious groups within the government called the National Pact. While some provisional agreements have been made, interventions by the French and Syrian governments in favor of their aligned communities prevented the government from implementing any concrete power-sharing agreements. Now Lebanon enters a new era, with the Maronite-dominated Kateb government's support for the French waning and the rapidly growing popularity of the SSNP and Pan-Arab movements. Lebanon must decide its identity if it wishes to keep its future. Next we have our French benefactors. Actually pretty good. I doubt it's going to last very long, but it's pretty good. Following a Franco-German armistice that instituted a collaborationist government in France, the former mandated Syria came under the control of the new government. In order to quell potential resistance, Petain's government formally split from Lebanon from Syria and installed the Christian Phalanges Kateb party to govern the new country in order to weaken the Muslim populace in favor of the more loyal Lebanese Christians. And finally, we have the SSNP threat. The Syrian Social Nationalist Party, or the SSNP for short, is an ultra-nationalist party led by Lebanese leader Antoine Sadat. The party, which openly calls for the violent unification of all of Greater Syria, operates in both Syria and Lebanon, and is suspected to have covert German support. Well, we have a little focus tree here. Let's get working on some basic stuff. We have mechanical computing. We have 2 research slots, which isn't the greatest. Let's do construction as well. That's probably gonna be the play. And I can't display on these units. Should have made things a little easier. I think we can get a field marshal. Let's get Fawad Shahab. And for a general, let's get Adel Shihab. There we go. Free civilian factories. I think they rise up in North. Can't even build anything anyway. It doesn't matter then. Let's get working on guns. Free civilian factories. Sure, get to working on infrastructure in North Lebanon with all fucking zero you got. Okay. New country, older problems. Small country of Lebanon, carved by the French out of the Ottoman Levant, remains divided and weak. The same problems that have plagued the country since its modern creation, chiefly relations between its various religious communities, remain significant. Navigating the next few years will undoubtedly be tough, but we must take the initiative. Yeah. Let's do a playthrough overview. Do we get... What awards do we have? Oh, so look at that. We do get a little achievement we can go for. Rise of Nations. As Antun Sadez, SSNP, successfully make your way from being a small faction in Lebanese civil war to the formation of a greater Syria. Let's go for it. Let's try to do it. I think that's really about all that we got going for us. Channel's Northern Vietnam. Cradled between the mountains and the sea, Lebanon has always stood at a meeting point of civilizations, a land shaped by centuries of commerce, conquest, and coexistence. From the merchant fleets of ancient Tyre to the stone monsters hidden in the cedar-covered hills, Lebanon's long played host empires, pilgrims, and traders alike. Every great power that reached its shores, Assyrian, Roman, Arab, Ottoman, and French, left their mark, but none could ever truly claim to define it. In the aftermath of the Great War, Lebanon was carved from the remnants of the Ottoman Levant and placed under French stewardship by the League of Nations. The French mandate was meant to prepare Lebanon for eventual self-rule, but in practice it reinforced sectarian divides. Christian leaders, particularly among the Maronites, welcomed French protection and influence, while other communities viewed the arrangement with suspicion or quiet resignation. The Second World War transformed Lebanon's status once again, as the Axis crushed the French Republic and elevated the collaborationist regime in Paris. Colonial structures were reasserted along the Levant. In 1946, Lebanon's designation as a mandate was quietly reversed. It was now officially protectorate of the French state, a subtle but telling shift. Now Paris viewed its role in the region. Under this new status, Lebanese institutions were nominally expanded, yet increasingly bound by the strategic influence of France and the new regime. During the 1940s, elite representatives of Lebanon's sectarian religious communities met and discussed the system of compromise on the nature of state and the formalized system of power sharing between religious groups within the government, often called the National Pact. However, with French and Syrian interventions preventing any concrete implementation of these ideas, tensions were not resolved, only deferred. In the hills, valleys, and coasts, each group watched the other, wary, proud, and quietly preparing for whatever future may come. Now in 1952, the situation grows more fragile. France's grasp has loosened, but not vanished. The regional balance is shifting. Lebanon's borders are firm on paper, but the loyalties within them are layered and tangled. From the mansions of Atrafia to the orchards of Bekaa, all understand that the current calm is not guaranteed. The cedars have stood for thousands of years. Whether the state beneath them can do the same remains to be seen. A little hit to stability. Oh, I did not mean to do that. To put out an inferno. Recent years in particular have created a sense of foreboding. Ongoing religious sectarian politics, growing radicalism, rising regional instability, and the waning influence of defeated France leave the small nation of Lebanon increasingly on the brink of catastrophe. While the fires of instability have smoldered for some time, now they threaten to ignite into a rapidly growing inferno. We must be prepared for the coming storm. Yeah, I don't see there's much upsides right now to what we're dealing with. In fact, I dare say, got a lot of downsides. So we have 2 factories, 1 civilian, 1 military. The civilian isn't even doing anything, it's just being used for consumer goods. By 1952, Lebanon finds itself at the precarious moment at a precarious moment in history. The French mandate and later protectorate that had governed the nation since the end of the Great War is slowly unraveling, but the structure of Lebanese society remains dominated by sectarian divides. The Kateb Party, currently in power, represents the country's Maronite Christian elite. Its leaders have long adhered to the dictates of their French overlords, seeing the protectorate as essential to maintaining their privileged position in Lebanese politics. However, the status quo is under increasing strain as both internal and external forces push for change. Internally, the Kateb moderates are holding on to power with an iron grip, suppressing opposition from both the Muslim population and those within their own ranks who call for a break from French influence. Led by President Nakach, they maintain a delicate balance, using their control over the country's military and militias to enforce their rule, but the cracks in their coalition are becoming more apparent. Maronite dominance continues to shape the country's political landscape, but there is a rising undercurrent of discontent from Lebanon's Muslim communities, particularly in the coastal cities of Tripoli and Sidon, where Sunnis, Shias, and even Orthodox Christians demand a more inclusive government that represents the diverse population of the Republic. On the other side of the spectrum, the Arab opposition, a coalition of Muslims and secular reformers, is also growing in strength. Although fractured and ideologically diverse, divided between liberals and Arab nationalists, for now they unite in their desire to overthrow the Kateb-dominated government. Complicating matters is the rise of a Syrian Socialist Nationalist Party, the SSNP, which has gained a considerable amount of support following the German victory in Europe, envisioned a greater Syria that would reunite the Levant, including Lebanon, under a single nationalist banner. Actively working to undermine Lebanon's fragile independence, it is quietly courting disillusioned Lebanese fractions and offering support to those who are dissatisfied with the current state of affairs. Whatever the future may bring for Lebanon, it's clear that something must change. For better or worse, is yet another question to be answered. Alright, so we got a couple options. Pacify the masses or prepare for the worst. You could also tame the worst or drive away the radicals. Well, this is going to make things worse for the SSNP, and since that's who we want to play, we are going to tame the worst. Well, it must be dealt with one day. The SSNP's band of radicals is ultimately the lesser evil compared to the so-called liberal opposition. We'll engage in talks with SSNP leadership to attempt some kind of compromise with them while we attack our common enemy. It's unlikely this will last, but it could weaken the other forces for now. Yeah. Ask Hindenburg how well that went. Actually, don't, because that's what we are the Hitler in this situation. A very odd statement I just had to say. Hopefully that won't be taken out of context. Definitely will, though. I know how the internet works. Let's get those research factories, or those research slots going, rather. Do we have anything in the way of decisions? We have the Middle East Cold War. The Narvik incident. Yeah, tame the worst. Let's pacify the masses next. As the country moves into a period of instability, we must make sure our support among the people is as strong as it can be, ahead of any possible deepening of the crisis. We'll make promises of popular policies and focus on political appeasement of the masses, trying to maintain some popular support towards the government. If the worst comes to worst, at least we'll still have many backers among the ordinary people. Yeah, sure. Germany tests the A-bomb. I guess one thing. Why don't you guys let me know if you want to see more Lebanon? I don't even know if there is more Lebanon content, really. Might have to wait for the, Mongolia officially rejoins China. Interesting. The Mongolia area. Get a point. I would do industrial concern, but I think that literally doesn't matter. I guess we'll do an industrial concern for now. I forget what's all coming in the second part of the update. I think Iran content, the rest of the Egypt content is coming up. Norwegian Revolution, friends of the channel. Let's go ahead and reconvene the National Pact. Actually, let's do upon a wilted cedar. Political crisis only deepened. The SSNP, perhaps emboldened by recent chaos in Palestine, broken off all communications whatsoever our government, and seems to be actively organizing its members for revolution. Remains to be seen what the future will bring, but the era of stability is surely over. Great. Get more computing machines going. Congolese independence. Next victory, North Africa. That they didn't even last a little bit. I keep being reminded that I need to play the new TNO update with the Spain content. I need to finish reading the dev diaries, actually. I recorded the first part, but I haven't done much else there. Our intelligence on the SSNP is becoming increasingly dire. Increasing evidence shows SSNP cells organized across the country are not only prepared for political organization and potentially even conflict, but preparing some kind of shadow government in preparation for a breakdown of ours. This is treasonous behavior, but for now we are powerless to quickly react. President Nakach has made a public appeal for calm and unity, but so far this seems to have little effect. Stability within the nation is rapidly breaking down, and we seem to be heading for disaster. To what extent is he willing to go? Let's reconvene the National Pact. A series of agreements during the 1940s, elite representatives of Lebanon's sectarian religious communities met and discussed a system of compromise on the nature of the state, a formalized system of power sharing between the religious groups within the parts of the government called the National Pact. Since then, selective parts of the system have been implemented in some capacity, but with stability of the country clearly fraying, it's imperative the National Pact reconvenes once again. President Alfred Nakach and other officials within the Christian Kateb Party will meet with Sunni Muslim representatives Saib Salam, with whom we've had recent difficulties. While there is some hope that a great breakthrough will be found, many are pessimistic about the chances. Yeah, I would be pessimistic too if I were you guys, because we're not going to be doing shit to make things better for us if we can avoid it. Marine emergency. That's all very rough, buddy. Congolese UN membership. Hung Parliament in Britain. Well, look at that. It's gonna be interesting to see what they end up doing. Reconvene the National Pact. A series of agreements during the 1940s, elite representatives of Lebanon's sectarian religious communities met and discussed a series of compromise on the nature of a state with a formalized system of power between religious groups within the government called the National Pact. Since then, selected parts of the system have been implemented in some capacity, but with stability of the country clearly fraying, it has been deemed imperative the National Pact reconvenes once again. As a result, President Alfred Nakach and other officials within the Christian Kateb Party have met with the Sunni Muslim representative Saib Salam. The two sides have had recent difficulties, but there was some hope of improvement through this meeting. Those hopes, however, were quickly dashed. Little to no agreement on anything could be reached, and the meeting ended amicably but tensely with nothing of real note achieved. It seems that the deepening political crisis has not been solved and does not show any chances of being solved anytime soon. Well, it was worth a try. Well, looks like we get to sit back and wait for a little bit. Maybe a lot of it. I haven't replayed Lebanon at all. Well, chaos in Palestine is kicking off, I know. So we just gotta sit back and see what's going on. Norway's getting their teeth kicked in. That's not great. Yeah, the Nords are... Yeah. Bless them for trying, you know. no. Just no. Greek Civil War. These guys don't have a vote. No, they don't. It's just... I still don't know what any of this really means, I'll be real. And I know you got this one me to play Greece more. And I got a lot of series I gotta get recording. For that week. Oh, I fell behind on research big time. Eating machines and countrywide improvements, sure. Well, this is the fun part of the series. I think I know what I could do for a like goal. If I get we get 25 likes on this first video, and let's say 15 likes on next video, because this is a little late into the video, so I'll reiterate that next time. I'll just hop in and play Syria as well, separately. Try something different here. I don't know what I would do in Syria. You guys can let me know what you want to see most. But we can play Syria. That might be fun. So 25 likes on this video, 15 likes on the next video. I want to up my goals a little bit, because some of you said that 20 likes was crazy low. And it probably was for something on my channel. So let's see if we can't split it up a little bit. I'm noticing Greece is actually finishing up its civil war at a decent pace now, which is nice to see. I say that, I wonder if they're about to just stagnate completely. Military coup in Hungary. Very, very interesting. Laval's constitution. Well, we'll see how well that works for Laval, won't we? The Night of the Bridges. It's all gonna fall apart soon enough, isn't it? I, for one, have no faith in Lebanese stability. And as I said, that looks like Greece is pushing back a little better now. We'll just see how that ends up going, won't we? I think its computing machines are done. Let's get working on vacuum tube computing. And that's going to be the play. And there we go. There's the collapse of British Palestine. And I have to imagine shortly, this is when the fun stuff is going to happen, right? Right? Who even won in America? I wasn't paying attention. Stevenson, okay. Yeah, Egghead, sure. Oh. Well. This is, Troubling message comes in from Admiral Charles Platon, the colonial minister of the Protectorate, and it explains there is a deepening crisis within the French metropole, has meant that France can no longer guarantee security support for its overseas protectorates, including ourselves. French forces are being withdrawn from bases. We are now essentially on our own. Uh-oh. Well, how are we going to deal with this? We'll have to find out next time, because I got to leave things there, friends. But thanks always for watching. Like, dislike if you didn't. Leave me comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all comments again, and I do appreciate any feedback I'm going to have for me. Check out my various links in the description box below. Leave me comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I will see you all in the next time. My name has been Mr. Doggo53. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.